What's stopping you from hitting 7 figures as an agency owner? It's probably not what you think. In this workshop, I'm gonna be going over the Owner Reinvention Framework that's gonna help you reframe how you approach scaling and growing your business, building the right systems, investing in the right people, giving agency to your team so they can lead your company with or without you. This is the exact framework that I've used to scale agency owners that are stuck at $10,000 to $30,000 a month, all the way to $50,000, $100,000 a month and beyond. And it's what's allowed me to scale several of my companies to multiple 7 figures. I hope you get a lot of value from this workshop, especially if you're feeling stuck and you feel like you're the bottleneck of your own growth and you're tired of firefighting all the time, and you know that there's something around the corner that's gonna serve you and your life and the growth of your agency a lot better. Stick around, let's hop in.
Let's jump in. Well, welcome to the monthly mastermind. Today we have a special workshop on how to reinvent yourself as the owner. We're going to call it the owner reinvention, and who you must become to, run $1 million agency, or if you're already at a $2 million agency. And there's definitely levels to this game. And over the years, I've really understood that like I am the biggest bottleneck always. I like to point to my team, but realistically, who hired your team, right? Who put them in place? Who gave them the roles they have? It's you. So at the end of the day, you are responsible for everything. If you want to be a little bit more intense, everything's your fault. So don't blame others, and take responsibility. And hopefully, this gives you clarity. And clarity should be a breath of fresh air. It shouldn't be like, oh, I have to do all this stuff now, and I have to get around to this. Sometimes we're just a couple moves away from living our best lives. Not too long ago, I had an assistant on one of my teams who I was always thinking about, like, oh, I got to manage this person and do this, and he was supposed to be helping, and then we parted ways, and it was a breath of fresh air. I'm like, wow, I just needed him out of my life. Everything's so much better, and that might be, with a task or role. That might be a relationship you have with a task or role. It might be a relationship you have with a person on your team or a client. Sometimes just getting them out of your life is going to help you, put the energy, put the resources towards the people that you love and care about on your team, as well as the clients you love and care about. All right, let's jump in. Oops. Okay. All right. So your agency will never outgrow the version of you that built it. So if you built it as like $100,000 agency and you're like the glue, it's always going to stay there. And I've seen that time and time again with agency owners that are like stuck at 30K a month for years. It's because, they built it for that size. And to get to 6 figures a month is a different framework, is a different management structure. And it really starts with how you go about tasks. You have operators in your business or yourself who manages the tasks, and then you have your owners that design the systems that provide agency to your team member. Let me ask you a simple question. When your client asks for a refund, does it have to go through you, or does your team have agency to process a refund? Because at some point, you're doing 300 shoots, it's going to be at least like 3 or 4 clients that are like, hey, can I get a partial refund? Or I wasn't really happy with this. Or like, hey, we ended up not even shooting this. Can I, get a credit? And if you're the only one who can approve it, imagine when you scale to 500 shoots. Now you have to approve like 4 of these, and you got to talk about them. Like, so I've given agency to my team members at Aerial Canvas that, hey, no matter what, if you're a project manager, 10%. You're approved, pre-approved. Like if you need to give a 10% credit, 10% discount to make stuff happen, it's already approved. If you need 25% or 50%, you got to talk to someone senior. If you want to potentially process a full refund, it's got to go through, the director. It doesn't even go through me. If someone wants a full refund, talk to my director. At the end of the day, he has a profit share. It's coming out of his bank account too. So think about these questions, right? If your business doubled tomorrow, what part of you would break first? What's getting loaded up on your plate? What problems keep showing up in different forms? I mean, I'll be the one to admit this one. I keep rushing hires off like an intuition. And so do my business partners. They're like, oh, I bumped into this person. They seem like a good fit. Let's create a role for them. Every time that happens, the person sucks. As in, like, we suck because we just try to make that hire happen. And we forced it. We didn't even have a job description, clear KPIs, clear budget, clear timelines, clear onboarding process. And I just like, oh, serendipitous. This is gonna work. That keeps showing up in different forms. That's why, like, I already told myself I'm not allowed to hire any more people on the team. You know, it's got to go through a manager. It's got to go through someone else. And it's happened years for years. I'm a stubborn person. I don't learn. But I vocalize this to my team members after I fire the person. I write up a new SOP. I'm like, we gotta at least follow this SOP, and I put it on the desk anytime we hire. Like, hey, this is the hiring SOP. And are you building a business, or are you the one holding it together? We've talked about this. I think this is a theme, um, at this point. What are you to the business, and what is the business to you? You know, is the business serving you, or are you, you know, serving the business in a way where you're literally getting owned by it. The business owns you and you don't own it. So, I'd love to hear from everyone here. You know, Kevin, you have an answer to any of these questions? You guys can pick which question you want to answer. I just want to kind of understand the lay of the land right now, where you guys are all at.
I mean, for me, this is the year I'm definitely trying to scale. Um, I've hired on more shooters. I've hired on a VA, hired on someone to take care of social media because that's clearly something that I'm not going to do. So, um, definitely trying to figure out the systems exactly the way what you're saying. Get the guys trained on the cameras, so I'm not the one who has to carry them and do all the tasks. So definitely shifting my mindset this year for sure. Um, that's why I
Beautiful.
actually really like this topic for tonight.
Awesome. All right, Drew, what about you? I know you're hitting six figures, and things have shifted over the years. You want to answer one of these questions for me? Which question resonates with you that you want
Yeah,
to answer?
one problem that shows up for me in different forms is like follow up and responding to people. And like at like most at the smallest levels of business, like when I was just starting, it was like replying to like clients. And then now it's like internally with like team stuff. So I don't even know what the solution is to that, to be honest. But that's like a big problem for me. And that also is number one too. If the business doubled tomorrow, that's like I could just think about it in my head. Like that's what would break first is me just like internal communications with everyone, all that stuff. It's like impossible.
Okay. Yeah, definitely, there's a lot of solutions and answers on the back of the problems, right? The bigger the problem, the more valuable the solution. Because if you solve the problem that allows you to double, then you have a business that doubles, right? And then you hopefully don't have the problems. What about you, Zach, Corey, or Kyle? Would you like to volunteer and answer to one of these questions?
I can answer, Brennan.
Go for it.
Uh, I think at the stage I'm at, the answer to question one is just way too many things. So number three really resonates. I think it's the mindset. And I had this shift recently, and now understanding that I've just been a slave to the business, or it's been I've been an asset to it and not the other way around, which is not why any of us started our business. So just reframing things in that way has allowed me to identify a lot of things
Yeah.
that otherwise I wouldn't have. Still so many things to do, but I love, just that reframe, that mental reframe.
Yeah, great. Awesome. So just keep in mind, even if you're at a lower, like a earlier stage in growth, 20K a month, 30K a month, 40K a month, this is not something that gets built overnight, right? You're still gonna have to end up going on shoots. You're still gonna have to train. You're still gonna have to talk to clients and consult them. I've seen some people delegate too fast, too early, and their team's not operating and executing at their level. And all of a sudden, they're asking, "Hey, why am I not making money?" It's just because you got a bunch of C plus and B players executing for you, and your product is coming out like, a restaurant that's a 4 star, 3.5 star on Yelp, right? We've been to those restaurants if we're forced to on a long drive, and we're like, oh, I don't know how this exists, but somehow it gets some business. You don't want to be that business. So on the worksheet, let me see if this shows up. There we go. On the worksheet, write down, list everything you personally touch in a normal week, on an average week. And we've done this in different formats, like we've done the time tracking analysis. This is just another maybe more simple format for you. List everything you've done, you personally touch in a normal week: consulting, invoicing, client follow-ups, shooting, editing. What do you touch? Right? And as an owner, what should you keep? And this is where I want you to consider, like, what is the stuff that you're working on that is valuable? You can still be shooting. If you're a great shooter, your value as a shooter might be worth $100, $70 an hour. And that's why you get more referrals and clients love you. There's nothing wrong with stopping or continuing shooting. Same with consulting. If like someone stopped consulting altogether, I'm like, why? Actually, Vincent, I'm talking to you. I was like, is your VA consulting for you? And he's just like, not really. And I'm like, if we tested your VA, would they score a 7 or 8 on the consulting side? Are they even doing it? And they weren't. They wouldn't. And so, as an owner, realistically, it's a pretty high paying skill set to master consulting. Consulting realistically will help you become a deal maker. So, it's work that you should keep, I think, until your team can do it 70, 80% as well as you can, I think, and you're at scale, maybe you can let it go. Um, and then what type of work can you remove or delegate? So once you make the list on top, you should be able to sort the list into 2 buckets at the bottom. I'll give everyone a minute or two to wrap that up, or to just jot your thoughts down. I'm gonna mute myself so I don't just keep yapping. And for those who are watching this workshop and tuning in, if you're tuning in while you're driving, this is a workshop that is something that you should do in front of a piece of paper or in front of your desktop. And really think about this. Put pen to paper, and then put these actual bullet points into action items. I'll give you all another 30 seconds. If you need more time, let me know. I haven't really paced this one out. If you're like, hey, I still got 5 more things I want to write down, organize. So hopefully everyone's done. Let's look at column 1. Owner work I should keep that you're doing right now. Let's rapid fire some comments in the chat. If you guys can just copy and paste what you wrote down in that column in the chat, we can just talk through it real quick. Building marketing systems. Oh, pretty good. The ads workshop might be helpful that we ran, I think 2 weeks ago with James. Leading sales meetings, team one-on-ones, coaching, networking, interview, hire, onboard clients. Those are all great. Building marketing systems. Anyone else? What are things that you're working on that's high level? This is an interactive one, guys. If you're not gonna respond, I'm calling you out, or I'm making your coach follow up with you and say, "What are you doing, bro?" Or sister.
I'm too lazy to type, but product and packaging, new products and how you're packaging them up, is definitely something we should be working on.
Okay. Um, Product and packaging. That's something we can send you some supporting resources on. Don's your coach, right? Just ping Don for that. We have a couple solid workshops for that. Alrighty. New products and packaging. Great. And then what are things that you should remove or delegate over time that you're still working on? Everyone just it should be copy and paste. And if you have a team, realistically, you should show your team this. Like this is a guiding compass for your team. Like they should be like, Kevin, you should be working on more package and products, packaging and products. Why are you, like doing this? Why are you editing? Did you finish that? Right? If that's the highest, level stuff that you can be working on, why are you working on some of this, stuff that your team can take care of for you? Right? And then also the stuff that you're still doing that you want to delegate or remove, you need to show this worksheet to your team and say, hey, I need help with this. I need you to, if you step up and I don't have to do this anymore, we're talking about a raise, right? The minute I don't have to do any of this stuff that I keep getting pulled into, talking about a raise. For most people, that excites them and gets them moving. Some people, if they aren't moving, then we'll talk about the next little theme on culture and skills. All right. So Zach, was this for things you should work on or shouldn't? Because some of these are decently high value. This is
Things that I think people should take care off my plate.
okay. All right. Well, that's all possible, but hopefully you have some very skilled people. These are decently complex things. Ad management is not something that everyone's good at. I don't even know what I'm doing there. Client consult calls. Okay. Well, you start thinking about how you're going to delegate this because delegating client consult calls is not cheap. But if you find the right person, it's well worth whatever you pay them. Fight fires. I don't know what that means. You need to be more specific, right? Is that customer support and revisions and rescheduling? That's usually what it is for me, or for me back in the day. All right, cool. Moving forward. Everyone done? All right. Owner versus operator audit. We just did this operator work, owner work. You know, let's dive deeper. If you disappeared for 14 days, what would break first? What are decisions that are involved, like you're involved with, that shouldn't require you? I talked about providing agency to your team members to make the shot call on invoicing or discounts or special pricing or refunds. Does your team member have agency? Or are they like, Mr. Corey, well, someone asked for a discount, what should we do here? What are you paid the most to do, and what do you spend the most time doing that might pay you the least? So what is everyone's highest hourly value task? Creating packages and pricing, realistically, Kevin, that's something that we can do in 2 hours. After that, what's your highest hourly task that you can convert dollar signs with? Prospecting and sales is a good one. Sales, okay. We love sales. You guys haven't gone through the 3-day revenue accelerator challenge. Tis about time. Tis the season. All right, consulting and strategy. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. And then, ask yourself once again, where are you like the big, like where are you right now in terms of like the biggest bottleneck? What is how are you getting in the way of your own business? Are you not training your team and your team doesn't know what to do? And you're like kind of mad at your team because they're like, you should know this, but this is like, that's what we're going to get into next. Did you provide them the training and onboarding, or are you just trying to hopefully that they'll figure it out? I hired them, ACRE gave them some training, and hopefully everything's good. Did you even take the time? So our next section is going from your existing bottlenecks to actually having systems that are more repeatable that you can count on. And hopefully, if it's with training, it's, recorded and it can be potentially even broken down with the AI tools to create a beautiful SOP for you now. And so a lot of times I see failure and, breakdown with a lot of agency owners, and they're like, oh, my person's like, they don't know what they're doing and they're making these mistakes. And that usually comes down to a training or knowledge gap, or you just hired someone who is stupid or unqualified or lazy. And if it's a cultural gap, you should probably get rid of them. But if they're willing to learn and they're willing to show up to work and willing to put in diligent work, then you need to ask yourself, is there a training or is there a knowledge gap? And one that's kind of missing is also a budget, right? Like, are you giving them the time? I've seen some business owners are like, hey, take on this initiative, but they have a project manager that's managing 100 projects a month, and it's like that project manager can't not physically make the time to do that initiative, and maybe you need to block out the time, or maybe you need to provide a bonus for them to get it done on the weekends or weeknights. So you need to also kind of get clear on if you even have the budget in place, because sometimes even if you have a Ferrari, right, gas in it, it's not going to go anywhere. Gas is time. So repeated mistakes are usually training failures, not talent failure. As long as you hire the right talent, obviously. Don't blame the person, blame the missing system. I think Don should be here. I think he might be on a cruise. Wait, are you here, Don, today? Don's not here, but Don's our systems guy. So if you feel like this is what you need more of, systems, and obviously we have Jenna and Adrian that specialize in the PM Accelerator that help with reducing some of these training and knowledge gaps. But ask yourself, what mistakes keep repeating because training is assumed? Right? Your project coordinators are invoicing incorrectly. How much training, how many reference resources? Do you even have a pricing table that they can reference? Or are they having to go to your obscure HD photo hub or like drop down menu and have to find the pricing? That takes time. It's not a good process. Slack disappear tomorrow or any of your systems, who would struggle to get the job done? What information lives only in your head right now? And for this one, I have a pretty nice solution, which I mentally struggle with as well. Your team members, they're paid to learn, they're paid to take their time. I see a lot of perfectionists, including myself, that I needed to record a perfect Loom video that's like me, with the good lighting, and I need to have all the windows open, before I record the Loom video, because I don't want to seem like an idiot on a camera and like just stumbling over my words and like trying to think about what I'm trying to say. But that's okay, because your team, like, if version 1 is better than no version, and I can tell you, for someone like myself, I never get it done. So it's better to just send out a Loom video of you maybe having some long 30-second pregnant pauses where you're just clicking around trying to figure some stuff out, and your team will go through that and learn. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Your training doesn't have to be perfect. If it's living in your head, just get it out on paper. Version 1. Loom actually does a great job. It auto deletes uh, like silence. There's like a silence filler button where you can remove gaps. So, it's not even something that you should worry about as much as you would, a couple years back. That's work for me. It's advice I need to take sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, oh, they can't see what's on my screen because I have this giant 4K screen. And it's like my tabs are too small. It's like, all right, you tell me if you can't see. But it's not my problem right now. I'm just trying to get this out there. Um, and then do your people know why they do things, not just how, right? What does that mean? I think a lot of people are like, oh, we do things because that's just the rules. Okay. Why are those the rules? Let's talk about refunds again. Maybe um, they they're instructed that, hey, they can only give 10% refunds, but not more. But maybe there's an exception, right? The why behind the exception is we always want to make sure our clients are happy because our reputation is more important than any dollar amount. And if someone's going to badmouth us and talk hella shit over $300, let's get them a full refund, right? And that's the why. And the why is maybe attached to a key pillar in your business, about reputation, about integrity and having the best product. What is the why behind things? And what is the why that is associated with them, right? Is it an incentive? Is it a KPI that they're trying to hit, right? A KPI being like, hey, our goal is to have no messages during business hours go left unanswered. Why? Because we want to be the company that no matter what, we get to our clients that are at our front door, at our storefront, our virtual office before closing. If they're there, we're going to say, hey, how can we help you? And if it's going to take a while, set the proper expectations. Hey, we're about to get off for today. Happy to help you get you scheduled in. Hopefully it's not something that's an emergency. Are you free tomorrow at 9 a.m. for us to touch base? Right. But there's like a more powerful why behind things. Does your team have that? Do you have that? And so going back to the worksheet, we might need to move a little bit faster. What mistakes keep repeating? Write that down. Like you keep facing these mistakes. What knowledge currently lives only in your head? Maybe block out some time to record some Loom videos. And then what role lacks clear training or standards? You might have a certain role where you're like, oh, my person is doing so bad. It's like, did you train them? Did you set the clear expectation of this is what the expectations are? So let's move a little quicker here. If someone wants to volunteer one answer for what mistakes keeps repeating in your business. All right. Do your peers a service so I don't have to call on people like it's a classroom. Quality and consistency. Okay. And do your QC, QA team members know the benchmark? Are there reference videos? Hey, this is our reference video for this video product. This is our reference portfolio set for what we're expecting in a great photo set. And, do they have the skills and understanding of verticals, horizontals, things that might need to
Yeah,
be removed?
it's like multifaceted, right? We have between the social media management, different social media managers, graphic designers have their own little flavor, and clients can notice differentiates, like different posts, like who did it, right? Like they can tell, oh, this person did it, this person did it. Even on the like real estate media side, we have different shooters and they have slightly different styles. And then when it comes to editors as well, right? Video editors tend to edit stuff differently. You might have the really good guy who pumps out a killer video with all this, speed ramps and stuff, and then you have someone else who's a little more janky, doesn't stabilize things as much, and so it can make the final product not always quite as consistent as maybe I'd see. Maybe some clients don't always see it. But it's just something that's like it's hard to kind of it'd be easy to do if it was the same person doing everything, but that's not always the case. So
Yeah, consider templates, benchmarking, and like like this has happened to myself and other agencies, for video products is like, oh, we like overshoot and we want to edit more because we don't want to like cut any corners, but like literally standardizing what is the deliverable. Okay. A highlight video is 45 seconds, only shows the main rooms, no detail shots, right? No speed ramps. A cinematic video includes multiple speed ramps, a couple of detail shots, is 1 minute to 1 minute 30 in time, and also budgets for the edit, right? Like if you have hourly employees on the editing side, maybe they're like, oh, I'm going to clock 5 hours for this fancy edit because it's a nice house, but the client only paid for a edit that should be 3 hours, and you should cap it. So with your editors, you should say, hey, we only have a $30 budget for this edit. Don't go crazy. Which may or may not help you. Some people just go crazy anyways in a good way. They just love to go above and beyond, but maybe prioritize those people for luxury edits and have a system that routes. I think Tanamo could do this. If a client books like a luxury video or a high end video, it routes to them. Also, Tanamo might be helpful. I think you're on Tanamo, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
can designate certain photographers and videographers and editors for certain clients. So you do have that specificity you can enhance over time. So that those are some workarounds, but I would highly consider like trying to really iron out and write down. And if you have this, great, share it with us, share it with me in your channel. We can help you refine it of like what does the baseline look like when it comes to each product. That way your QC team can have a clear reference point of like, what are we delivering? What is this?
Also, one note with QC, like right now I have one VA and she's handling booking, she's handling deliverables, she's handling any angry emails that come in, whatever. She's handling all of like that day-to-day stuff. Um, is there a point that you separate those two roles, whether it's client communication, quality control, and deliverables, or do you just try to say, "Hey, person, you're doing everything, all the time"?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely split that up at Aerial Canvas. I think it comes down to a resource allocation thing for usually, because like realistically, if you're doing 30K a month, 50K a month, you might be able to bring on one, maybe two VAs once you touch 50. And it just depends on like what you have budgeted and what you have benchmarked, right? Like we have project managers that their only job is to talk to clients, consult clients, deal with scheduling, and then making sure the project, goes to the finish line, gets edited, and that's their goal. Their goal is not to field calls, unless it's related to project management. If it's related to customer service, a revision, we have dedicated customer service staff for that. And when it comes to revisions and editing and QC, we have a dedicated QC staff. I think people get better if their job is to only focus on one thing. I think it's very important to have also generalists that understand your organization at large, so you can, have one person that oversees a bunch of stuff. But I would talk to them, and go through a similar exercise and have them audit, what they're spending their time on, and ask, whether it's through a one-on-one or it's through a guided exercise of like, I think Jenna shared a self evaluation of like someone's, like role. should maybe have them self-evaluate if they need support and have them be vocal about it, because sometimes some people are not going to be like, hey, we need someone else, and they just do everything and then they get burnt out and then they quit. Worst case scenario. So you definitely want to be proactive about, identifying what are these realistic benchmarks. If they're doing all the scheduling realistically, I can tell you, like, I'm happy if my project manager manages 80K a month in just scheduling and project coordination, and making sure that they're moving stuff through the pipeline of production and editing. That's all they do. They don't really have to deal with too much customer service and answering emails. I have someone else for that at Aerial Canvas at scale. So once you have these benchmarks, it's easier to understand. If you don't know, maybe do it yourself, or watch them and be like, hey, let's see what you can get done in an hour. And, like, really identify, okay, in a given day, they're able to, book and schedule 4 projects, answer 10 emails, deal with 2 revisions or 5 revisions. That's the approximate output of a VA. Okay. Now, when 20 projects come in and there's 8 revisions, you probably need someone else, so find a way to benchmark that as soon as possible.
Cool.
All righty. Let's keep the show going. All right. So I think I talked a little, we touched upon this a little bit, but accountability and KPIs, right? What gets measured gets managed. We just talked about it. Like, if it's a certain role, how many edits, right? For our video editors at ACRE Partner, we just went through a KPI setting for our editors. Hey, on a given 8-hour day, you should be able to output 6 simple edits, 2, premium edits, and 1 podcast long form edit with, maybe 3-4 reels. That's the benchmark for an 8-hour shift for an editor. What is your benchmark? What are your KPIs you're measuring around and against, that you can hold someone to a standard, and then you can also properly allocate resources? So you're not just saying, oh, we probably need another editor, because I feel like some of my business partners and clients are just like super reactive. There's a busy day and they're like, we need another editor. I'm just like, is this we've experienced poor turnaround and bandwidth issues for 2 weeks, or is this like a 2-day thing? Right? You really got to zoom out sometimes. And so here are questions you should be answering. If a role underperforms, how would you actually know? How early can you detect that? Do your KPIs change behavior, or they just get reported? Right? Like, after we set KPIs for our video editors recently at ACRE Partner, their output, we got Carlos here. Ebony, you can answer this. Did our output change after we set KPIs with video editing? And if so, how much? Or Carlos, I think you're there, right? As a host.
Yes. Sorry, my baby's toy in the background, but yes, it actually tripled the amount of outputs that we were having in the past. The editors are now delivering like 8 videos a day, each one of them, and they include motion graphics. So it definitely output. I say triple the time of what we were, or double the time of what we were expecting. So, yep,
Yeah,
been
awesome.
awesome.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, a simple expectation, change behavior, change the pep in their step and what they need to output. And we got twice as much out of our editors. Sometimes you don't need an editor, you just need a KPI, and you need an incentive for them to hit KPIs. I told them they hit their KPIs. We're talking about raises next month or soon enough, whenever their next review would be. So hopefully that helps you, right? If you don't have KPIs for every role, start evaluating, at least setting 1 or 2, for our creatives. A creative should be able to handle at least $1,000 worth of shoots a day. Like, if they're full time with us and they're not shooting 20K a month, then for sure it's below threshold. Ideally, the target is closer to $40,000 per shooter. And those are the shooters that end up usually making 100 plus $1,000 with us at Aero Canvas. So, really having these kind of general numbers that help you have clear benchmarks of your team, of their output, is going to be helpful in your ability to scale. Who owns the outcomes not just helps, who's the owner? At the end of the day, I have one person to hold accountable if something comes out on YouTube and the quality's off or there's an error. And it's Carlos right now at my team at ACRE Partner. So he's the owner, right? If there's a certain issue with outputs on the editing side, we have a clear owner. It's the editors, right? Like they're not editing what they should edit them. And you should have that with every role, like who's owning the role. At some point, it shouldn't all fall on you as the owner. Consider a director of operations, a operations manager, a creative director, a manager of your creative specialist team, that, hey, if someone's having performance issues, it's obviously on that person first and foremost. Hopefully it's something that can be addressed and owned by that person. But who owns it? It's that department head. And you should start considering building that over time so you can hold them to more high standards and hold your company to these new expectations, which don't always fall on you, right? This person's getting paid 50K. All right, you're responsible for this, and this in this department. If there's issues, we're talking about you on a performance improvement plan. And if you want to raise and those numbers don't look like they're improving, then just know it might not happen. We're looking for that to improve for you to get a raise. What does top 10% performance look like? I talked about our top creatives. They're shooting 30, 40K a month, right? They're only shooting, they don't edit. So you should have that for your own company. And I don't know if I'll get around to everything on a worksheet, but effectively we have a worksheet thing for each little section here. So make sure you take the time to fill it out if you're trying to improve it. It's got a little crazy. Okay. All righty. So the second part, you have the training, you have the knowledge, you have the KPIs. The second half of this is the standards, the people, and the owner, right? Like the people, the who figures out the what and the how usually. And so if you don't have the right culture and standards, and you as the owner doesn't align behavior, energy systems with that next level agency and how they would act, then yeah, you're probably going to be banging your head against the wall. And it's just because you got some rowdy kids on the bus that need to get off. And you're trying to build a real business, you got to have some adults. So culture is what you allow, reward, and repeat. If you tolerate low standards, you have set a new standard of low standards. Behavior, that like leads into your values, right? Like what you tolerate. If you tolerate like people cussing and swearing and like I cuss and swear, but like not in a professional environment with my clients, not when I'm doing customer service, right? So if you allow for that, then you pretty much allow for those values. And so have a honest reflection right now on your standards. Are there any standards you need to elevate on who you promote, on who you choose to, give full-time hours to? Sometimes the rotten apples need to get their hours cut. If they continue showing up late, shoot after shoot after shoot, hey, realistically, we're going to put you on a performance improvement plan and your hours are going to be reduced. This is, your first warning. And here's a written warning. So really look in the mirror. What behavior do you tolerate quietly that sets the standard? This is very important. If you tolerate something and your team sees you tolerate some bullshit with your team, your other team members might be like, oh, okay, we can get away with that too. All right. So sometimes has to be publicly, communicated. You don't have to shame someone, but hey, this is our standard, just so you know. Who is still on the team? Because firing makes you feel uncomfortable. Because firing them makes you feel uncomfortable. Like who are you like just letting stick around? Because I could tell you everyone that my teams recommended. I'm terrible at firing people, guys. Like it's usually my team's like, hey, it's time to fire this person. Like this person's got to go. And I give them agency to make the decision without me. If they're the manager, at the end of the day, I can give them feedback. They might run a few things by me. I might, suggest them give a second chance. But at the end of the day, my managers are well in control of like being able to fire someone. Who do you promote? Is it the most skilled person or is it the most aligned? Because I've seen our team promote very skilled people, but they're culturally not aligned and they don't last. And it's not also good, to give someone a promotion super fast just because they're skilled, but there might not be, a team player. They might not be willing to coach others on their skills. They might not be willing to, lead by example and actually innovate for our team. And if you could hire, sorry, I'm trouble reading right now. If a new hire copied your top performer, would you be proud? Right? If you could truly clone your A player, or are there things potentially off? Right? Maybe it's an attitude thing. I had some amazing shooters, but dude, I had a manager one time, and it saddens me to say they were bragging in the office, relaxing on the couch. Oh, wow, just got paid to shit while our other shooters were grinding it out, right? You think that's something I was proud of? That person did not last too long. And it's funny to joke about it, but like he was literally sitting on his ass for the next 30 minutes afterwards, right? Like I'm not that cruel. Like you can make a joke, like that, and it's fine. But if you also have actions that back it up, then you got to go. All right. And then you have to also look at your own self, right? We went through this at the beginning of the year through a couple of thoughtful exercises. Your health, your mindset, your identity, your energy, your clarity, your standards, they shape the business more than strategy itself, right? Like how you show up really reflects on everything else. And that's why I'm very much working on my own peace, my own like approach towards business, my introspection. I've been catching myself being an asshole. Like earlier today, I was trying to focus and you know, my wife also works at AP here and there. She had the door open and she was kind of playing music loud. And I said something that was kind of accusatory. And at first I said, "Hey, can you turn it down? I'm trying to focus." And then I said, "Hey, um, I don't know why you keep trying to distract me." Like something that like was accusatory of her trying to be, malicious in her intent. And then came to my room and I thought about what I said, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of an asshole. I like literally like accused her of, trying to be distracting towards me. She might have just not been aware. So I went back and apologized, and she was like, "Who are you?" Like in a good way, right? Like you don't normally apologize that fast or that quick. And so, I think it's very important to consistently work on your health, your mindset, your identity. Sometimes, when I take on too much, I just get stressed out. The shit rolls down the hill. If I don't exercise enough, or like really focus on my mindset, like go for walks, that stress builds up and then I just explode on someone on my team, and that's not helpful either. So, really ask yourself how you physically showing up compared to the company you want to run. And that's not necessarily like about exercise, but like it's about showing up for things that you expect your team to do, right? Like sometimes we wanted our team to make more calls, but our managers didn't show up to make those calls, and I wasn't willing to. Sometimes I had to roll up my sleeves and say, "Hey, let me show you how we can just pound, grind it out and make 10 calls in an hour. Same with the shoots, right? You know, I have a lot of managers who are like trying to show like Studio 910's work and be like, let's do this, you know, let's do that. But they're not willing to do it themselves and learn it themselves. I have to lead by example. Like you've seen probably my quality of edits go up at ACRE Partner for our YouTube, for our Instagram, you know, because I'm physically showing up, filming better stuff with the help of Carlos. I'm physically showing up, you know, with my team and giving them feedback on some of these edits, guiding them, guiding Carlos to give feedback. What is stress or fatigue leaking into leadership? Or where is, sorry, like my vision's like blind these days. And where is stress and fatigue leaking into leadership? I really consider all the different aspects of your life and how that might affect your leadership. What personal habit, if fixed, would immediately raise your company's ceiling? Right? I know John reads every time he goes run, he says his mind gets cleared up and things just are better and he's able to lead his team better. I know when I'm physically consistent, that helps me tremendously as well. Are you reacting to the business or are you deliberately shaping it? I, for sure, in the last 3 months, have been more reactionary than I'd like, right? It's always like, why didn't this work? Why didn't that work? Or why is this happening? Instead of getting ahead of it. And a simple example of that is coming up with a team meeting agenda, right? If you have team meetings, I don't know if you are just like coming in, talking about whatever, you know, it's top of mind, or you have a clear agenda that you and your team members have put and set into place. And, you know, be vulnerable with our team at ACRE Partner. 2 weeks ago, we didn't have an agenda. And Don and Adrian were like, you know, just talking, you know, between each other and, you know, kind of arguing and saying, let's just call off the meeting. And then I had to like talk to Don and Adrian. Is everything okay? We good? It's because we didn't have an agenda, right? We were reactive to something that instead of being proactive. And we talked some things out. We all were very adult about it. But that was us reacting and not deliberately shaping what could have been a very productive hour. And so from there, we obviously learned, hey, we're going to be adding to the agenda at the end of the week, at top of the hour. If we don't have an agenda, the current agenda is the first thing that we're going to do is take the first 5 minutes to build the agenda. So we have a clear path of how we're going to spend the next 30 minutes or the hour with the team. Any questions so far? I wanted to open it up to the room. I know I've been on a little bit of a monologue. All right. So just jumping back into the worksheet, you know, just so we're not completely abandoning it for the sake of time. You know, write this down for yourself. What's draining your energy and clarity? What personal habit would improve your leadership? And where are you reacting instead of intentionally leading? All right. Every time you react to something, really consider what could you have put into place so you get ahead of it next time. Right? Is it a training for your team? Is it a better habit for yourself? Right? For me, one of the habits I've developed over the years, there's no excuses for me missing anything at the next day, because at the end of each day, I look at my calendar for the next day. Right? Nothing's like, oh, that was on your calendar from a week ago. I look at it the end of before going to bed each night. Just look at my next day. What's on my calendar? It's a habit I've built that allows me to be proactive instead of reactive, of like literally something popping up on my calendar and me being like, what's up? And then also, you know, my Calendly prevents any meetings being booked less than like within a 24-hour window. I think you can set that with your agency as well, right? Like with Tonimo, I'm sure with HD Photo Hub and Ario, you're allowed to set, hey, within, like no last minute bookings. It has to be 48 hours in advance for it to land on our calendar, right? Otherwise, they got to call in where it says something might come up. Hey, we don't have any availability, or it might be last minute. Please give us a call. That's being proactive and not reactive. All right, moving on. Working on the business. You need to design systems so problems don't repeat. Every reoccurring problem is a missing system waiting to be built. Shift from firefighting to asset building, right? If you build an asset where literally if there's a fire, it gets put out immediately, that's a pretty valuable asset. Imagine if, a town had a firefighting department that any fire that pops up, 1 minute, it's out. Drone gets deployed. Cameras, catch the fire, like boom. Right? That's an asset now. That city, every building there is worth more. Imagine coming to a town. Hey, we understand fires is a real threat. In the last year, every fire has been put out within 5 minutes. Every building's more valuable there. Everyone wants to live in that city, especially if you're in California, right? There's more fires than we'd like to admit. When was the last time you worked on systems instead of fires, right? Every fire is a system that you can be building around. Whether it's like giving your team more agency or putting in a new SOP. What problem keeps reappearing because it was never truly solved, right? Sometimes I have a new idea, but the idea doesn't see the light of day because I didn't actually go through the steps of solving it and integrating it and implementing it and training my team on it and then holding my team accountable a month later, right? We just rolled out these KPIs with these editors, right? I'm trying to see it to completion. I'm saying, hey, at the end of each month now, I want to see a report of the KPIs. It's not that they have improved and it's great. Okay, now there's a report and now we're going to measure each month against the last month. So if it improves, I know I should probably be rewarding my team. And if your calendars are reflecting your priorities, like what would change? We talked about it on like 3 other workshops in the last couple months. Very important. Like, look at your calendar right now. How much of your calendar next week is blocked off to work on the business? Kyle, pull up that calendar. Let's see.
Not enough, my friend, not enough. Too much
All right.
shoots, but it's getting
But with
better.
the time, yeah, with availability, right? You need to be very intentional, right? If you only have 4 hours, 8 hours to work on the business, what exactly do you want to get done? Is it training your next creative so you can get off shooting as much?
And I have a quick thought on that note because that is a problem that I run into because there's so many, things to build and systems, and a struggle that I have is obviously focusing in on something for a period of, say, one day. It's like this is the day where I only think about like the things that are lacking for this role or the team in general. Like where should I upgrade the communication, and it's only a team day. And I'm trying to understand what tools and systems are, best that you've used or anyone else in the chat, like whether it's Notion or like how do you sort of structure like almost like your business brain into. I feel like that would be useful for me to understand like how you've done it or anyone else, in ACRE, because I'm trying to build mine, but I'm having a hard time because I have a very divergent brain that's always coming up with new
Yeah.
things, quests, but organizing the quests and prioritizing them, and of course, getting that in the calendar properly as well.
Yeah. Well, my answer might be different for others. I just hired the who. That's all for the what and the how. Like as fast as possible, I found a video editing manager. I found a operations manager. I found, a sales manager at the time who didn't work out. But as fast as I could, I either hired consultants to train my team, or I hired managers to lead my team. And I just kind of went through stuff like this with them to the best of my ability. I'm a terrible manager. I'm just going to be honest. And I'm terrible at building SOPs. Um, I'm not bad per se. If that was my only job, I would get it done. But like to remember getting it done and scheduling time to get it done and doing it, that's why I have Ebony. That's why I have Carlos. And I've been able to teach them a thing here and there. I know I've sat down with Carlos and been like, all right, here's the hiring SOP for video editing, right? Like this is what we've learned so far. This is what we want to avoid. This is what we need to test for. Um, I would start with asking your dedicated channel and your coach and the community if you get stuck with any certain thing. But realistically, like you shouldn't be the one responsible for building every single SOP at your company and every single parameter. You should be able to share with one of your manager level team members this exercise and go through it with them, right? Within their role.
Yeah.
Notion's been great. Notion's a great tool. Monday's a great tool. We've used Monday and Notion respectively at many companies. Google Docs is a good starting point, but don't really overcomplicate it with what tool you should use. You can easily migrate from Google Docs to Notion any day, Monday to Notion, Notion to Monday. A tool is only as valuable as, the people that are using it. So fine. Yeah. Like Matt said, done is better than perfect.
Thank you. That's
But
good advice.
I have like these overarching themes in business, like the who solves for the what and the how. Like Market U, Rio, we've been able to build up Market U to do 30,000 edits last year. We've definitely ran into hiccups. I've had many complaints from many partners that I've referred over because we're dealing with humans and editors, and there's always going to be that level of issues that pop up when you're dealing with like a human product. But we've grown and we've stabilized, and we have many, many, many happy clients and many, many happy editors, and an amazing workflow. We had 20 editors apply to work with us like earlier this last week. Our YouTube channel is hitting 2,000 subscribers, and I barely lift a finger because I gave Rio 20% equity of Market U, and he's on a performance incentive plan where he can make 50% equity of the company if he helps us hit a certain financial objective. Right. I know Matt Giaz did that with his company, the actual agency, not Auto HTR, where his business partner has the opportunity to make a lot of equity, right? And the who solves with the what and the how. And so you really have to, as you scale, consider how you allocate capital to people that are worthwhile, and that can get you that goal and truly remove yourself from having to bear all the responsibilities. Our two directors at Aerial Canvas recently bumped them up to $135,000 base salary, full benefits, 401k, health benefits, 4 weeks of PTO and vacation, holiday pay, and also profit share, and also equity. And they have a plan now. They have a plan to potentially earn up to 10% equity of the company if they help us grow by 150%. And that 10% will be worth probably in the 7-figure range. Right. So that's my solution if you want to take it. But, like a lot of us at our early stage when we have our first company, we're not really comfortable giving away so much equity. But I can promise you, for the right person, you give it away, they're going to allow you to free up your time to work on so many other, entrepreneurial endeavors and projects, or double down on what you love at your agency. If it's shooting, it's shooting, great. If it's, hiring and managing the team, awesome. But the whole point of business is so we can build a business to do the shit that we don't want to do, or do the shit that we want to do and delegate and automate and hire out all the other stuff that, not to say we wouldn't do it, but it doesn't serve us anymore. Grinding out 50 shoots a month. I can do that. I can make good money doing that. Fuck it. You know I personally can shoot for 30K a month in my sleep, but it's not fulfilling, right? Not in the same way as it used to be. For sure, I loved it for like the first month I was doing it. I was like, this is amazing. I do this for the rest of my life. Listen to music, throw on some tunes, whip that gimbal around, be a cowboy. For those who know the reference. Anyways, so, like that's my best advice for you is over time, the who is actually going to solve for all of this. And you don't have to do everything, but understanding the frameworks, understanding the why, the how, the what behind what drives these things is what really makes you a savage business owner and a business leader to be able to orchestrate and be a deal maker and to create these incentive structures, to create these little systems that build upon it themselves.
Thank you. It's good advice.
All right, so write it down, guys. Systems eliminate reoccurring problems, right? What problems keep reappearing? What systems would make this problem impossible to repeat? When will I schedule the time to build? Or who will I allocate the resources to build? PM Accelerator is a great tool. Adrian got a lot of training, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of experience in training. And you can pay Adrian and Jenna one time to train up your team member. You can just go on 3 shoots or 5 shoots instead. It's designed to really help you guys, be smart with your time and money. Some of us run out of time. Just put your money to work for you. That's if you want to be a savage business owner, there's a couple levers you can pull, right? There's capital, understanding how to use your money and put your money to work for you. Getting capital. Sometimes if you don't have money, if you really know what you're doing, you run it up on a credit card, right? Imagine the people that knew what they were doing around crypto and bought 1,000 Bitcoin on a credit card at $1,000 a Bitcoin. These people were freaking geniuses, right? They knew how to deploy capital. Not to say that that is what I'm recommending, but like that's an example, right? Like at some point, Amazon went into debt 7 years to build AWS, which is their biggest revenue pillar. So much, billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars come through Amazon's web services, right? That's one of their. I think they make more money on AWS than they do like Amazon Prime, subscriptions even. So really consider. Don't quote me on that, but just know it's significant, right? I think that might have been an old stat. No, Amazon Prime's huge. But like those are the things that you need to figure out, like how to deploy capital, right? Amazon went into debt for 7 years to build their most profitable engine, but they knew exactly how to deploy debt in a way where maybe the interest was like, oh, they didn't have to pay crazy interest on it. Maybe they were able to accumulate and raise capital, but they knew every dollar they put in, it was going to like waterfall money in 7 years. And you might have that same opportunity, which is you're on the cusp of a surge in demand of your services because you've provided a great product and you know it's going well. Maybe that next play is you going into short term a little bit of debt to bring on a creative, and that creative is going to shoot another 30K a month for you. That might be your small version of your AWS. That certainly worked for us. But don't also be stupid about it. I've seen people hire like 5 creators all at once, thinking that they're going to take over the world, and they're just like way overcommitted, and they have no demand for their services because they don't know how to sell or build like brokerage partnerships. And then the second one, right? There's capital, then there's human labor, like knowing how to leverage your team, hiring the right people, delegating properly, and then there's media. whether it's running ads, it's building a brand, it's, you know, creating content at scale, being able to reach, use one medium to potentially reach many people, one to many. And then the last one is software, right? A lot of you all have seen the benefits of auto HDR firsthand, have maybe seen the benefits of things that you almost take for granted, right? Software. There's a lot of apps we use, Google Calendar, Autonomo on our phones every day, Slack, that have, you know, vastly improved our ability to leverage up. Autonomo is literally like, at one point, guys, I was running Aero Canvas and paying 10K a month for Autonomo for a very version one like version of it, because the technology wasn't there yet. You know, I had Monday.com and Typeform and Google Calendar and this invoicing platform called Tave, and I'm like, John, we need to consolidate these tools. And so, you know, in many ways, you're getting access to $1 million technology for $400 a month, $200 a month, whatever plan you're on. That's leverage, right, of software. And we're leveraging software at scale every day, but it's like to the extent we're using it. I know, like, we're barely using all the features in AOS, which is go high level. We're barely using all the features in Slack, and, you know, there's diminishing returns of like trying to use every single feature every time, everywhere. But those are the 4 pillars, right? Capital, human, media, and software and automations. If you can master how to capitalize on all those, you're going to be able to scale up a pretty great business wherever you go. And those are all things that we teach over time. Alrighty. So we talk about this all the time, you know, like, you don't, hopefully you don't have to take everything we went over on this call. Just pick one thing, one system, one role, one standard you want to change. Let's create a plan together. If you don't have a plan, just message us in your dedicated channel. We'll build out a plan with you. We'll provide you as much resources and training as possible, and then lock it in. All right. All the things you wrote it down today, if you filled out the full worksheet as we've gone through this, write it down, date it, share it with your team for accountability. This is what we're working on, right? We have tools for this. Anything that you work on with us should be something you feel comfortable sharing with your team, unless it's maybe a document about how they're underperforming and they're going to get fired. Maybe that you don't have to share that publicly, right? But everything else, all these big goals that you've set for your business to increase your AOV through consultations, through to better, you know, quality control your product and what you're looking to achieve. Zach, does your team know QC and QA is a problem that you guys are trying to solve for?
Yeah, I've talked through everything with everybody. It's just a
Do they have
matter
an
of,
incentive? Is there a
yeah,
clear owner?
it's it's hard when you relied on the one person to do QC, when on the other end you have the client wanting their stuff immediately, you know, and maybe they don't really have an issue with the video, but like I do, because maybe I have just higher standards, higher consistency that I have in my head. But I'm not gonna delay sending that off, right, to then send it back to be revised, you know, and delay the whole process. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm running into.
Okay. Well, let's workshop through that more. I think hopefully you have some things to work on from the feedback I provided you earlier, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I got some
Great.
ideas. Thanks.
All right, great. Benchmarking, having clear samples of what each product looks like, all those things. And then present all that to me, and I'll let you know if like it's a foolproof system that's gonna get you the result. Because sometimes the game plan's not really strong. It's like running a play, and it's like we're gonna get a touchdown. No, you just got blocked right away. All right, so let's answer these final questions, right? What would an owner at the next level where you want to be stop doing immediately? What are you going to stop putting up with? You know, is it a person? Is it a client? Is it a thing in your company? What decision have you been avoiding because it's uncomfortable? Right? That might be having to let someone go, unfortunately. That might be having to fire a client that pays a bunch of stuff but like doesn't really make you money. That might be um, you know, just going to the gym if it's a health thing, right? That is for me still. That's still something that I am. I hurt my back last week. I was getting more active, and then boom, you know, and that's what happens. Like I didn't trust the process. I didn't have a good, you know, workflow. I didn't stretch, and now I didn't put stretching in my workflow. What system would you make? What system would make this problem impossible to repeat? Right? Is it an SOP? Is it agency? Is it, you know, incentives? Is it a punishment? Is it a workflow that's trained so they can't even possibly forget because it's been trained on every single week until it's done right? And then what will you implement in the next 14 days with no exceptions? That's the one thing like I want you guys to walk away with. If you can walk away with one really, really good system, improvement, change, standard, no exceptions. That's the Kaizen we've talked about, that 1% improvement every single day. Not even asking you for a crazy change up. What's one thing out of all this 1 hour? If you could implement from this hour and 20 minutes, one thing that will improve your business with no exceptions in the next 2 weeks. Imagine what that means if every time we do one of these workshops, that will do for your business this year. Every 2 weeks, that's 26 improvements in your business. And I'm going to shout out, who was it earlier that wanted to, let's see. Yeah, Kevin. Kevin wants to fix his pricing and packages. All right, brother. Next 2 weeks, no exceptions. Something that we can get done in 2 hours, realistically. So, share that, guys. Share that in this chat. I wanna hear it. I wanna hold everyone accountable to what that is. If you don't know, say I'm gonna finish this exercise in the next 2 weeks, so you do know. Meeting agenda, beautiful. This week, setting an agenda every single, and that needs to be reoccurring, Zach. You know, it's a reoccurring, hopefully, format. And if you don't have the same topics, the format can be what questions are you trying to answer? What's our biggest bottleneck? What is, you know, something that we're trying to fix this week? Coming to me for approvals or questions. So like can you describe that, Corey, in detail, what that means?
Yeah, so what I have a lot of right now is a lot of like, do you approve this video? Do you do this? Do you do that? And so it's just something that been trying to lately, been trying more of like, you tell me what you think of this video instead of waiting for an answer from me. Um, Giving approval of like, hey, if you're coming to me for a question, you have the right to make a decision if I don't get back to you in 15 minutes, especially if a client is involved. There's just a lot of, I'm the bottleneck there. So it's just finding a way to dial things in. I had my listing consultant today, like, hey, this is revision request from the client. Where do I need to send this to? And so I just had to like guide them through that process of like where to go because the admin wasn't on staff. So I just need to fix those pieces and start laying out either a Monday board. I had an idea of like, you know, we're going to integrate more. We don't have a lot of our editors into Tonimo. but we have like profiles for them, so we know who edited what. So we're going to use that. Like that's going to be a no questions asked. Like every single service needs to have an editor assigned to it, so everybody knows who did what and when they did it. So that way, if there's a revision, we know where to go for those people. Like have a document that has their email, thread, or whatever it is. So just finding a way that they can just easily go, oh, that was this person. I go here. I can send a message to them for this project with the links and everything.
Okay, I like that. I like that. I think that could be a good workflow for your team. And then we also have Kyle, clear KPIs. Is that for every role that you have on your team?
Eventually, but starting just with the basics, it's kind of, there hasn't been, like you mentioned earlier, references for photo sets and videos, and having those benchmarks for that role, and then after that it'll be videos and everything, but starting one thing at a time.
Great. Carrick, you said logging everything into ClickUp. I'm guessing just to track all the things you want to work on. Okay, he says yes. And then Kyle, you said also delegating ownership of roles to one or two key team members. That's great. Awesome. Well, I'm excited for everyone to hopefully get a significant change in your business. These are the changes that build up $1 million agency and that will transform you and your business over time. Really, people ask me a lot, quite often, hey, Brendan, how do I get to $1 million? How do I double my agency this year? Literally, it's on the back of 1, 2, 5, 10% improvements in every department, compounding year over year, month over month. And you blink and then your business goes from 200,000 to 500,000, and you blink again, it goes to 800,000. You blink again, it's at 1.2 million. That's how fast it is sometimes. Ask Lennon, he's not here. The dude went from like 800K to like 1.4, like I think 1.35 million last year. It's pretty sick. Pretty awesome to see. All right, good stuff, Corey. I love it. Let's hit the 750K this year and then hit that 7-figure next year. I love it. All right, we'll talk soon. Thanks so much for taking the time, everyone, and hopefully this one was a workshop that helps you just get 1% better. I'm not trying to change the world on the back of one call anymore. I'm just trying to help you get 1% better, guys.
Here's a hard reality. Your agency will never outgrow the version of you that built it. But the good news is consistent small improvements, they compound fast. That's the fastest way that I've found to scale from $250,000 to $500,000 to $1 million a year as a real estate media agency owner or as a business owner in general, in anything that you do. And so I want you to make that commitment. Write down what it is that you want to solve for in the next 2 weeks, and make sure that you allocate the time in your calendar to get it done, and make it a non-negotiable. And if you can accomplish that in the next 2 weeks, set another goal and another goal and another goal. And in a year, you're gonna have 26 significant improvements in your business, and that is how you double. So if you need more clarity and support, feel free to reach out to us. And if I can ask of you just one more thing, a lot of you have been watching the channel, but a lot of you aren't subscribed. If you want to stay tuned in to more workshops like this that's focused on helping you scale your real estate media agency or your small business and beyond, we're going to be launching more and more of these episodes every single week. Subscribe, hit that bell notification, and stay tuned. We're going to be dropping up to 2 episodes every single week in support of your growth.